So the other night, I'm wrapping up some raids with some of my homies, and I run into this guy at the Tob Bank, and I've never seen this guy in my life, and he says, I'm trying to get better at Tob, and it's pretty late. I'm actually just recording the video after this raid, and he says just everything I love to hear in life. He's like, I don't even care about the money at Tob. I just want to get better. And I'm like, this guy's a legend. So, if you're watching this video is for you, my friend. And I hope we get to send some more raids. So this guy has 17 KC. And he seems a little bit like it's hard to get teams. It's hard to get players that want to send with an Iron Man. He doesn't have a scythe, and he mostly relies on the We Do Raids channel, which is a very real struggle. Those teams are usually not super well organized. There's rarely someone that knows what they're doing. But this guy is like, I just want to get better. I don't care about the drops. I want to get more consistent. And he has a log of how well he's done. He said he's done 17 raids, 12 deaths, 5 deathless. And I'm like, bro, this guy is just a living legend. I kind of aspire to be like this. I remember when I was trying to get better, and I did not have as positive as an attitude as this guy. So, brother, keep sending Tobs. Do not give up. And I hope you find this video somehow, because I'm not going to send it to you. That would ruin the story. But I'm going to try to help you, and I'm going to tell you what you can improve on. Let's get into it. So, I know I didn't commentate Maiden, but I thought it was essential to tell the background. So we're hopping into Bloat, and I want to make sure he understands that the first person that goes into Bloat, quote unquote, sets the room. And it turns out he already knows this. And throughout the raid, this guy surprises me. He has a lot more knowledge than I would expect. I think he's put a decent amount of time into learning the raid, but his actual experience within the raid itself, playing RuneScape, is much more limited. So he really needs that hand-on experience. And I've seen a lot of people that they watch videos and they really want to get into Tob, but you gotta get in there. So he starts with the Chally, and then my friend is blocking him, so I can't see what he does. But I know there's another scenario within Bloat that I'll point out. So he runs away a little bit early, which is totally fine. I always preach, play safe, try not to die. That should be the first step when learning, try not to die. That doesn't mean you shouldn't take risks and, do things that you're uncomfortable with, which are inevitably going to lead to deaths. But try to limit deaths. That's very important. So he runs a little bit early, which is okay. And he goes with the Saldor, another Saldor, and then he does a Chally. My brother, we're going to call him 1800. 1800. You want to use your Chally as your last hit, right? The cooldown of the Chally is 8 ticks. So if you do the Saldor, you want to do that before you do the Chally. Make sure your Chally is your last hit. And I'm not sure if this is a knowledge barrier, or maybe this is just a little bit of the nerves, right? Because when KC's not given, you kind of have a little bit of nerve. I remember doing this I remember getting these nerves in hard mode Tob, my first 50 KC. You kind of get those nerves. You're hoping that you get the KC, and they don't play as well when you're not as comfortable. So I want to check his inventory, and Make sure he has everything he needs. He buys the stamina, perfect. He has plenty of supplies. Now, he also surprises me because he brings both a Dragon Warhammer and a BGS. And I don't think I started doing this until like 100 TOBs in. Most players do not understand that they should bring both a BGS and a Warhammer. Now here he is the melee at Nyos, and he's an iron, so the fact that he's using a 4-tick weapon, it's understandable, right? I'm not gonna say go grind out a swift blade, although that might be something you look to do if you plan on grinding out TOB. And he definitely has a couple things to work on at Nyos. I'm not saying he's horrendous at Nyos, but a lot of new players don't understand that there's a priority order when killing Nyos, and that typically goes small aggros, big aggros, small non-aggros, big non-aggros. And the reason for this is a little bit more complex, so I'm not going to get into it, but it's important you're focusing on aggros. You don't want them to pile up and kill their team. So there's 3 melee aggros in the middle, and he's still chipping away on the sides. So I want to ping these, and I tell him, aggros, he hops on them. And I'm trying to find that right balance of fostering that learning while not like giving away the KC, right? I'm not just gonna make him, hop into the frigid cold water, right? I'm trying to foster learning while getting the KC. So I do kill a couple aggros, but I do want him to understand that he needs to kill these aggros. That's his job. I'm not gonna do the job for him. So he's hopping on. He's attacking bigs, which is okay. Still just chipping away. And there's an aggro in the middle, which I think I ping. Unfortunately, it switches to range. But yeah, he's back on the aggros in the middle, so that's awesome. I'd love to see that. Now, he doesn't have a scythe, which means melee roll is going to be somewhat inefficient, especially because there's a lot of opportunities to save ticks by using your scythe and hitting doubles. And this might be a little bit more of an advanced tactic that maybe you're gonna learn maybe like 30, 40 KC, 17 KC is still pretty early. But, melee might not be the best role for people that don't have a scythe, but it's not that big of a deal, especially if you're just trying to learn and get KC. So, yeah, he's doing fine. Literally can't really complain. And overall, throughout the raid, he exceeded my expectations for what a 17 KC learner should know. Now, a tip I have for learners is maybe try to learn the hardest role. And typically as a beginner, the hardest role is going to be the freezer role. So make yourself that asset. If you know how to freeze, then teams are going to want you, right? Almost everybody knows how to do the melee DPS role. So try to become a valuable asset and more people will want you on their team. There's a chance of that. He starts with the BGS, which is like, okay, I've never seen a low KC or BGS Nilo. Maybe it's just the people I raid with, but kudos to you, brother. Nice job. Now let's see how he does here. So he's a little late to his switches, but that's okay. Like, nothing that I should even mention. Switches to mage, gets 2 shots. He's a little late to his switches, but that's okay. Like, for a lot of people, hard mode TOB might be your first introduction to gear switching. While I'd say it's not likely, it's definitely possible. And 1800, my tip to you is to pre-switch to the next combat style. And the way you decide to do this is you want to pre-switch to the next most favorable attack style. So that rarely means you want to pre-switch into your mage gear. For example, if it's melee, after your 2 hits with your Saldor, pre-switch into your range gear. Now you don't need to change your prayers, but you want to pre-switch into the next best gear. So if it's the range Nilo, then you want to pre-switch to melee. And this will help with minimizing losses of ticks. So I asked him if he understands the roles at Sodaseg. Sodaseg roles are important to understand. And he surprises me once again. I don't think I understood the roles at Sodaseg until 50kc. And this guy says he usually does northwest or southwest 1/2, which means he will Dragon Warhammer on the first phase of Sodaseg and the second phase of Sodaseg. And I think that's the perfect spec for a learner. Phase 1 and 2. And the reason I say this is because if you're the more experienced player, I like to spec last in case my teammates die. You don't want to be soloing Sodaseg without Warhammer specs. So if I'm teaching someone new, I try to take the 2/3 roll or 1/3 roll. So something also that you might notice is that 1800 has Void on. And I asked him after the raid if he has Bandos, and he says yes. However, he said it messed up his switches, which is a totally rational response. But the importance of Bandos will be evident as we get to Veric, and I'll point that out. Hopefully I remember to do that, but try not to use Void unless you don't have Bandos or Torva. If you're learning and you're more comfortable with that, then that's okay. But there's a lot of reasons why Void is inferior to regular melee gear. And one reason I can show is that Sodaseg, you're going to take a lot more damage from melees. Now, something that I've mentioned in previous videos is the fact that if you're learning Sodaseg, I don't recommend you pray melee. The reason for this is because you're going to miss more mage and range attacks, which is going to snowball or cascade into taking a lot more damage. Because if you take an orb off prayer, he then removes your prayer ability for, I think, 3 ticks. So it's in your best interest to not miss mage and range orbs. That's why I suggest to not camp melee and just camp mage. That way you only have to focus on 2 different prayers. And that's exactly what he's doing. So maybe he watched the guide and that's his thought process. And yeah, good on him. I think that's a great play. So he's staying high HP, which I like to see. 1800 has got this in the bag. He's catching his prayers. And yeah, not bad. I can't complain about his Sodaseg. I wouldn't complain anyways, but his Sodaseg's pretty good. Not bad. And we go to the middle for the ball, but my homie Bloat decides not to. That's okay. He might be a little confused, and he gets a little bit like... See, that's what I meant by snowballing. He misses 1 prayer, and he takes a 38 into a 31, which is somewhat unlucky, but that's the reality. And he says, ouch. So, we do a little bit of commentating. So here I really want to make sure that he has a stamina, 100%, and then plenty of brews, a couple restores, and maybe some combo eats if he's comfortable. But there's a good chance that if you're a learner, you're going to take a lot of damage, and more brews than hard food is probably going to be in your best interest. It's going to be ideal. Now, once you get a little bit more comfortable, I suggest you try to bring a couple combo eats, 1 or 2 minimum. But yeah, his inventory was good. 6 brews and a couple restores. And there's a good chance that I'm going to need one of those restores. I know, someone commented on my other video that when I'm taking learners, I should reduce the gear. But, I just don't listen. I don't know why. So, I only have 2 restores and 3 brews. I'm not worried about the brews because I have my blood fury. But, anyways, so now we're on Zarus, and I think this guy has not trioed before, but he does really well. I tell him to keep like a somewhat triangle formation, and this is kind of the best tactic in trios, but this guy seems like he's mostly done 4s, which is really the best scale for new players. And the reason for this is because 5s can cause a lot of hecticness, and it can get overwhelming in 5s. And 3s, there's a lot of like there's not a lot of room for, how do I say this right? Like, you really got to pull your weight, right? It's split 33% amongst the team, so you got to be pulling your weight. And Nylokiss in 3s is actually kind of lenient because your pillars will have a lot of HP, but sorry, kind of going on a tangent. So he does a he does a Dragon Warhammer into a BGS. My 200 KC friends still don't do Warhammer into BGS in Trio Zarus. So this guy is on top of it. And like, I love seeing the experience, the wisdom and the knowledge, because a lot of the times people don't even know what to do, right? They want to hop into the KC, and they still need to understand some of the knowledge behind of top, like, right? There's a little bit of knowledge to top. Understanding spec orders and understanding what ticks you can pull off. There's some knowledge to top, and this guy really does know a lot. So continues to impress me. I get a nice little yellow click through Zarus. What's new? And a lot of these times when I do these learner raids, I'm like looking at my player with like my what's it called? What's it called when you're not actually looking, like you're just looking through the corner of your eye? Not the field of vision. I don't know. I'm just looking at my player in the corner of my eye, and I'm actually usually looking at the learner. That way I can see what they're doing and what they can improve on and whatnot. And he makes me happy and proud again. He attacks, he backs off. Attacks, backs off. Like, I've literally said this in one of my videos. This is exactly what you want to do when you're learning. Attack, stop attacking and back off. It's going to be very hard to die if you unclick the boss. So kudos to you once again, 1800. By the way, 1800, if you're watching this, please comment. I want to know. I want to know. So I check out the inventories. Looks like Bullet has five hard foods, which, I've not seen it before, but nice. I like it. And P1, I think P1 goes pretty well. I think he takes a hit or 2. Perfect. Drops a lot of potions. You should always be dropping potions. Even if you're an experienced player, you drop potions. But even more so with new players, you need to drop plenty of potions. And the reason for this is because most of the time, your death will happen on P2. Right? There's P1, P2, and P3 of Veric. P2 is the most deadly phase for learners. There's a lot of comboing opportunity, a lot of dangerous attacks from Veric. So don't pick up your potions until after P2 is completed. Here, we're just talking about which side he needs to be on. I want to be on West so I can do Boak, and hopefully no one dies from crabs, because I really wanted to get this KC. And I really wanted to get the KC. This guy, he's my hero, so I wanted to make him happy, make him proud. So I think he runs out early here. Yeah, he runs out early, which is, dude, it's not the end of the world. Not bad. what I would do is I'd heal up back to full HP. Your stats don't really matter at P1, so this is the best time to brew. It's better to brew on P1 than P2. So, but he's in a safe range, so I'm not gonna harp on it too much. I think the max hit is like 68, maybe 67 or something. So as long as you're outside of that number, then I cannot complain. So we're trying to ping and trying to help him with the spec order, which is also somewhat of, it's a very new mechanic. Like where else do you drop spec weapons and special in a specific order? It's very specific to top. So I understand why it doesn't come innately. So we're trying to ping, trying to help him out a little bit. And that's a good video to watch. You know, look up P1 guide if you're not sure why you're taking damage or why the staff is on the floor when you're like, should I have the staff or should someone else have the staff? And yeah, P2. I'm really hoping he survives P2 because he said one of his biggest challenges was P2. And here we get a little Boak. No, I don't do Boak. I want him to freeze crabs and just freeze crabs. If you have a learner, freeze crabs. Your rate's gonna be slow. Freeze crabs. Your rate's gonna be even slower if somebody's dead. So I recommend freezing crabs. Now 1800, my brother. It looks like you understand what you need to do here. But it looks like you're not able to get into the cycle. So my suggestion to you is going to be get to a good HP. 75 plus. Once you're at a comfortable HP, try to get into cycle. Now, you're going to make mistakes. That's why you're at high HP. Good job. You're at 94 HP. Perfect. Once you're high HP, try to get into cycle. Make the mistakes. Mistakes are okay, especially when you're high HP. So, high HP, try to get into cycle. Take a lot of damage, repeat step 1. High HP, try to get into cycle. So he's in cycle now, but he doesn't do the instant click back. And that's a very common problem with new players at top P2. It's understanding ticks. Like, I've told people you need to click back instantly, and they delay a tick and they think they're clicking back instantly. But in reality, this is such an unlucky bounce. Sorry. In reality, you need to click before your player stops moving. The visual, that's why TrueTile is a good plugin for new players. You're not actually where your player is in RuneScape. So when you think you're clicking back instantly, your player's already at a tile. It's already arrived to its destination. So I think this is where I get knocked back unlucky. No, I don't know what I'm talking about. Okay, hopefully I'm not yapping too much. So he's at 56 HP, gets knocked back. Now, another trick is that if you get knocked back, if you spam the boss, it will automatically put you back into cycle. Look, right here. Spam the boss, back into cycle, and then step out. Unfortunately, I yellow clicked the boss, but if you get knocked out, spam click the boss, and then click back after you swing. This will always put you into cycle. Top tips that I accidentally clicked to Discord. No idea why. Oh yeah, I was trying to check their inventory. So, yeah. Click back, spam back. After you swing, step back in. And that's a way to always get into cycle if you get knocked back in P2, which is going to happen. And remember, this guy's 17 KC. I don't expect people to have scythe walking down at 17 KC. Many people don't have scythe walking down at 50 and 75 KC. It's a somewhat difficult mechanic. So do not feel distraught if you are not able to Scythe Walk, even if you're higher KC. At this point, I'm hoping he leaves that restore on the ground. I swoop in like a hawk, and hopefully we can get the KC here. I have plenty of brews, and I try to get the freeze. I tell him to heal up for crabs. This is also a underrated tip for P3. If you know how the cycle works, which is 5 special attacks, or sorry, 5 auto attacks, which are the range and mage, and then the special attack, which can be in a whole assortment. If you understand when crabs are coming, try to heal up. There's a good chance that you can die at crabs. So something that he almost makes a mistake at is when webs comes out. If you don't know how to run webs, you need to be away from the boss. If you're not away from the boss and webs start getting, engulfing the room, then what can happen is you can trap your team. So it's important to stay on the outside of the rim when webs happen. Drop some brews for him because I want him to stay alive more than myself. And now here is where I can talk about the bandos. He's gonna take a lot of damage from Veric's autos because he's not in bandos. You're basically paper thin. So every range is gonna hit you. Horrible melee, very unlucky. If you're not using bandos, Veric's autos are gonna chip your HP down. Okay? So that's why bandos is so good at Veric. And for 90% of players, Veric is gonna be the choking point, or whatever it's called. It's gonna be the sticking point. Veric's tough, so you wanna do everything you can to make Veric easier. I recommend you use bandos. So here he is at 10 HP, and he just gets into this vicious cycle of trying to brew to stay alive, but also trying to do damage. When in reality, you're not going to be able to do a lot of damage if you're just chugging brews, right? Like, I remember this. It's 3 brews, restore, and by the time your HP's up, you need to rebrew. So you're never attacking fully potted. So we're at 0.7%. Bullet stuck in the webs, which is super bad. Gets a purple, heals it, and then a 30. Not ideal. And my boy dies. Guys, I hope you liked this. 1800. Keep your head up. Keep sending raids. It's been an absolute pleasure. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. It's 1 in the morning. I'm going to try to get this to you in the morning. Peace out.